Greetings, YouTube. Church Paul here with the question of the day. Is the Second Amendment about militias? This is a hotly debated topic today that is literally dividing us and tearing us apart as a country. So I had to make a quick video about it. Forgive me for deviating from my normal message. But I'm going to get right to the point. And I want as many people as possible to hear this. And for those of you that hear this, please spread this word. But the Second Amendment is about the right to form militias. It's about the right to form militias, not just about the right to bear arms. And here's the debate. The gun control supporters say no guns. The Second Amendment, when it refers to militia, it's referring to the National Guard in our case, the state's army, if you will. Those that support the right to bear arms, they stand on the Second Amendment. It's written in our Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment, that we have the right to bear arms and it shall not be infringed. But I believe both are missing the point. The Second Amendment says, and I quote, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Again, the Second Amendment is about the right for us to form militias, not just to bear arms. Arms are a means to the militia. But the right that the forefathers gave us was the ability to form militias. And what is a militia? A militia is a civilian army. Spread the word. A militia is a civilian army. Unscripted, meaning they're not drafted. Unpaid. Volunteer. Private citizens, not part of the government. Not the National Guard. I know there's been cases in the past that have, the Supreme Court, I believe, has determined that, yes, the National Guard is the militia, etc. But the National Guard is not the militia as referred to in the Second Amendment. The National Guard is under the federal government, and the federal government can call them up at any time for foreign wars, which we just saw in Iraq and Afghanistan past decade. No, the National Guard, they're paid, they're volunteered, they're not scripted, but they are paid soldiers, and they are part of the U.S. Army. They wear the insignia of the U.S. Army, they follow all the rules and regulations of the U.S. Army. The National Guard is not a militia. A militia is a private army, a citizen, civilian army. Think about the people that formed the militias back in the day. They were farmers, they were shopkeepers, they were townspeople, cobblers, etc., etc. These were the people that formed the militias that fought the British. And that right they have given to us as well. That's why they put it in the Constitution and why it's the Second Amendment. It's very important to them. So not only do we have the right to bear arms, but we have the right to form militias. Why? To protect the state from tyranny and to keep it free. To keep it free. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Why would they have to write that in there if they weren't worried about tyranny and their own government infringing upon them and taking away their rights? So, if you fear people owning firearms, if you're afraid of your neighbor, your law-abiding neighbor that's peaceful and quiet and doesn't harm anybody, if you're against that person owning a firearm to protect himself and his family if someone invades his home, that's not what you should be worried about. You should really be afraid of the fact that we have the right to form a militia, an armed militia, a citizen army. It's our constitutional right. That's the real fear, where hundreds, thousands of people can form together in a well-regulated militia and defend their state from invasion or tyranny, from enemies foreign or within. Both sides got it wrong, in my humble opinion. The people who support the Second Amendment seem to forget the very first part, the most important part of that Second Amendment: militia, a well-regulated militia. So if you put it in context, and if you put it in that way, then the militia comes first, the arms come second. The people who want gun control only read the first part of the amendment, militia, and they don't seem to recognize the second half of that amendment, that the people are allowed to bear arms. And where do you think these people are allowed to bear arms? In an armory somewhere, in the local park that they'll be able to have access to when the militia is summoned? No, these people kept their firearms in their homes, on their farms, with them at all times. And I believe that's what this Second Amendment gives us the right to. We have the right to form militias, civilian armies, to protect our state from a tyrannical government. The Second Amendment is not about the right to bear arms. It's about the right to form militias. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious toward you. And may the Lord give you peace.